going to hit go live and I'll do your intro and then we'll talk about chanclas first and then we'll talk about you. How's that
Okay,
sound?
cool.
Okay. Here I am waiting for it to go live. We're live. Woo! Facebook.
Yeah.
Welcome. Wake up. The old lady is ready for you. So here's the deal, you guys. This is the drill today. You know, Comic Spot was created to bring on veterans of comedy. You know, I'm a veteran. Today, you have a veteran times two here. You got Kevin Davis, the veteran of the Marine. He's the Marine of comedy. And hoorah to him. And he's a veteran of doing comedy. So he's a retired Marine. That means 20 years, right?
Right,
20
correct.
plus years. We're not talking the 3-year enlistee in the Army like me.
Now, that's all right. You did the service. It's a veteran's a veteran. Right.
I did the service. He's a single parent. Boy,
Yeah.
can I relate. I was a single parent. He does comedy. Yeah, he does it all over. He headline. He'll do any spot. He'll host, he'll feature, he'll headline. He does it all.
Yes.
And he deals with PTSD like I do. And he doesn't know what he'd do if he couldn't do comedy just like me. Yes. I can't relate anymore. You guys, you're getting your money's worth today. Let's hear what why he's in Vegas today. It's your turn, Kevin. Welcome. Woo!
I'm going to be performing tonight at, what's it called?
Chanclas.
Chanclas. My good friend Jack Slammy is the promoter, producer of the show. And actually, Slammy was one of the guys who gave me my first headline spot.
Wow.
And it was a weird thing because I was actually supposed to be the feature. And the guy didn't show up. So Slammy looked at me, he said, "You headlined it." And that's, you know, you hear about that when you're learning comedy, but that's real. That was probably 5 years ago. And yeah, maybe 4 years ago. And I remember it and I was like, okay, but I felt mentally, I was like, okay, I can do this, you know. So now I come back regularly to do his shows. Like I said, he's always gonna be a dear friend. And whatever I could do to get to Vegas, I love to come to Vegas and do shows because I got family out there. And I love the Vegas environment. So I'm excited.
Yeah. I can't wait. I think I'm going to get in a lift after my comedy class today. I'm going to get in a lift and come see you at Chanclas. The show starts at 9 p.m. But yes. I'm telling you, with the COVID, regularly the place sells out. So, you know, you need to get there early.
Okay. You know, what's weird is by this time last year, I would have done maybe 60 shows. And up to this day, I think I'm at 6 or 7.
Jeez.
And I am so desperate to do comedy. I tell you, I'm so desperate that if the devil, Lucifer, was booking shows, I go to hell. I mean, as long as I got a round trip ticket, you know what I mean? Because I ain't trying to go to hell one way on a bus. But if I had a round trip ticket, I'd go to hell and do the show, you know what I'm saying? But I'm that desperate. I think a lot of comedians are we just want to get on stage because the new material you got, you really haven't worked out. So you're working them out at live shows, which is something we never really do. So you working out at the open mics and stuff, and now you going on stage, and I have been trying new material for all 6 shows, you know what I mean? So, and I will do something tonight, I promise you. But I'm confident. Confidence is the key, though.
Yes. So what's the key to you being such a success? Because the minute you hit the comedy, I don't want to go into a full-blown interview. They can go back and look at the original one. But
right.
When you started, you took off like a rocket and you haven't stopped. So what I know you got the X factor with your amazing personality, and your storytelling is off the chart funny. I mean, people who are in the 3rd stage of dementia will laugh just watching.
That's good to know.
That should be your target market.
I'm gonna go to a psych ward and just hang out and see if I can get a few of those people to come to my side. But you know what? From the beginning, this is crazy. But when I was in high school, and my drama teacher reached out to me, and people don't know this about me though, but I was not gonna be a Marine. You know, like the body that I grew into was not the body I went in with. So my objective was not to be a Marine. It really was, I wanted to be a gangster, to be honest. But there's not many 98-pound gangsters that got a varsity letter in tennis and graduated from a performing arts school. You know what I mean? So I didn't quite have the credentials to be a gangster. So I used to cut up a lot in school, and my teacher took me out of that and made me go into drama, which I thought was weird, because I didn't really understand it. So she put me into drama. So at a very young age, I wanted to do comedy. And that was at 16, 17. So I got sidetracked and went into the Marines, basically. And that's because, like I said, I couldn't be a gangster. So I ended up in the Marine Corps at 98 pounds. That's how much I weighed when I went into the Marines, 98 pounds. And a lot of people think I just went in for the food, you know what I mean? But it really wasn't that. I went in for the dental work. Because I had a lot of cash.
The what?
The dental work. But not, I really
Me too.
wanted to get into comedy from early, but the Marines was definitely not my first choice. It definitely wasn't. It came when I realized I needed to make a change in my life. So I kind of put all the entertainment to the side for 30 years. 30 years, I didn't do no comedy. I didn't do anything. 20 some years. So I get into a recruiter school at San Diego and I'm teaching. But the way I knew how to teach was to make it entertaining and make it fun. So I would start telling jokes while I was teaching Marines, because Marines are the tightest. They butts is tight all the time. So you got to try to get them guys to loosen up to be recruiters, because they got to have a personality. So I started, bringing back what I learned 30 years ago and doing it at recruiter school. Now, of course, it was not embraced with open arms. Let me say that. But they knew that my techniques were efficient and effective. So my students were doing really well. So other instructors started having fun on stage, dressing up like doctors, doing different things. And it started becoming fun. That's when the bug hit me again. It hit me again. And I was 53, I think, when I walked into comedy. And I just walked in with, just wanting to do it. Like if something's been with me that long, So.
Now you got trained by Jerry Corley, and I did
Yes.
too. He teaches to write a lot of jokes a
Yes.
day, like 30 a day.
I don't.
But how did you start off and shoot out like a rocket? I mean, just hit the pavement running.
I've always been a person that I think I can do anything. I really believe that. If the job that I do right now, which you can't see, but I'm looking at my screen, is I'm an editor for TV. I never was trained to be an editor, but I was a graphic artist. I was trained, but the job for editing opened up, and I said to myself, I can do it. And I just learned it. And I was the same way with comedy. I just told myself, because somebody should have told you at least once in life that you were funny. That's a good start. So I was always, thinking I was funny. So just jumping into it, I never really thought about it, that it was a science like Jerry Corley teaches you. He teaches you the real stuff about it. And I never knew all that. So when that came in, he was probably one of the big influences on why I came out. I took his class maybe a year or two after I was in, and he really allows you to be yourself, but to write what fits you. You know what I mean? And I was like, okay, I like that. He didn't try to make you into something. So when I came out, I just came out excited and just believing that I should be funny. Now I probably wasn't, you know what I mean? But,
you were. Yes.
I just, just when you look back at your old tapes, you're like, oh man, I was talking way too much with no jokes. You know what I mean? I'm just sitting there talking, and all of us do that, And then we get terrified by 3 minutes and 5 minutes. And now you hate somebody offering you 5 minutes or 7 minutes. I got too much stuff I want to talk about in that time now. But back then it was, so that's how I did it. I just came out believing that I could do it.
Yes. So somebody said, Kevin, I'll pay you $2,000 and you can talk as many minutes as you want. Just make sure it's pretty tight.
Right.
How long? You're a talker, and you got stories up the yin yang.
Oh
How
yeah.
long could you go?
I could probably go maybe 2 hours.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I
I was
think I can
thinking
do.
2 hours.
Yeah, based on the material that I have,
Wow. You
based
got it.
on how much I
Wow.
write, which you can't see in my house. There's on the wall right here. It says comic vehicles. It says joke writing, pick a topic, develop a premise. Uh, all that stuff is here, and it's all around me. If you can see where I'm at, but I also have motivating things behind me. So any day, I'm always thinking something comedy. There's something funny that happens to me, and I just write it down. Now I wish I had the memory to remember most of the stuff I write, because sometimes I read stuff and I'm like, I wrote that. You know what I mean? I'm like, man, that's funny. Wow. But I do that all the time. So you got to keep track of it.
Yeah.
If you don't, you'll forget it.
Yes.
So
what's your favorite joke that you tell that doesn't get that great a laugh, but you refuse to give it up because you enjoy it?
it's yeah. That's interesting. Now I think when I say I'd rather kill with comedy. Now that I'm retired, my perspective is different. After 20 years, now I just want to kill with comedy. And then the people look and I say, maybe. Yeah, keeping my options open, in case comedy don't work out. Because, because you can always have a job in the Marine killing somebody. I mean, it's just what we do, So, but that's a joke I just like because it really tells our story that Marines are trained to be Marines. They're not trained to be accountants. They're not trained to be, they're trained to kill. So I like to tell that joke because it puts light on what we really do. And that's our main job. It's not the other stuff. That's our secondary. Every Marine is a rifleman. So when I say I'd rather kill with comedy, that's why I'm saying that. So in my mind, I'm laughing like, yeah, I'm making light of what we really do. So yeah, that's a favorite.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love it. So you're going to be at Chonkla's in Vegas tonight, which is just not very far south of me. It's in between the Strip and Maryland Parkway down there on one of them streets. Anyway, it's a cool bar and a lot of different groups of people hang out there. Mm-hmm. Bikers hang out. You've been there plenty of times. How do you read that room to know how to vary up your material?
First of all, it's a bar. Mm-hmm. That's the number one. So the fact that it's a bar, you have to get their attention. If you don't get a bar's attention, you're not going to have a good night. And simple reason, half the people there are there for comedy, half are there to drink, and some don't give a damn what you're there for. You know what I mean? They're just there to be there because it's a bar. So sometimes you like inconveniencing them because they rather watch TV and then hear you tell jokes. So what I try to do is get a gauge of the bar. So I'll sit in the back, I'll watch the other comics, I'll see what material's working, and then my first 3 to 5 minutes is not scripted. If you ever see me, I don't do the first 3 to 5 is what I feel, is what I'm thinking, what I observe, now what that does is I'm going to talk about things that are familiar to them too, that I've noticed in the bar, that I've noticed about the crowd. So now they're engaged because they've seen what I see. So now they're going to, once I get the nod and they say that guy's funny, I can go into my material. But I won't even go into my material until I got their attention. Okay, and you normally do that, and you learn that by doing different places. You can't just go in and start with your material, because in a bar they may say that guy's corny, because my jokes are not hardcore. They're funny jokes about life. But in a bar, it's a different environment. So you might have to throw an extra S word in or something, you know what I mean, to make it a little more edgy, but it's still the same material. But in a bar, don't start until you got their attention. And a good comedian I know, a guy named D. Militant, is a great writer. He's written for BETs. He's got many comic books out. And one of my favorite things he talks about is, as a comedian, we should be able, on the spot, to be able to write a joke. And I do it all the time. I write jokes while I'm sitting. And he says, your jokes are like, the balloons in the air when people talk. they're in the air, just hanging. Just grab one when you need it.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Because we shouldn't have enough that you walked in and you've seen that the bar has one door and you got 8,000 people. How are we all gonna get out that door? Especially the fat guy sitting right by the front. You know what I mean? We got to move him to the back. You know what I mean? Or something to that, just an observation. But everybody else observed it too. You see what I mean? Like I went to a bar, it was a biker bar, and the tablecloth looked like aluminum foil. I said, who had an abundance of Reynolds wrap that y'all decided y'all should wrap the tables with it? You see, and everybody bust out because they thought the same thing. Like, why is Reynolds wrap on the tables? You know what I mean? And then it was a black place, but they were selling tacos here, chicken wings over here. They had a hookah bar. They had weed, right? I said, this is like a black Cardenas, you know what I mean? It's like market, but black owned, you know? And that was just an observation. It was just an observation, you know? And that's what I try to do now. I don't try to go into my set. And you don't even know when I'm going into my set because I don't want you to. I want you to think that this is all off the top of my head. So that's a good way to get a bar, to grab a bar's attention.
So that's what I'll come and observe is you doing that tonight. I will be there.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna do that because it's a bar and you got to fill it out. You know what I mean? And you got to see what jokes are working. And if you are the headliner, you have the opportunity to watch other people and see what they're responding to. Or they ooh you know what I mean? If you bring up a joke, like if I say, like when I went into the Marine Corps, I was 5'6". I weighed 98 pounds. That's God's truth. I was 5'6", 98 pounds. I was 6 inches from being a midget and 8 pounds from being Ethiopian. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? So now, some people would laugh. Some people might go, oh, that's terrible. And I say, see, you got to fill out the crowd. You know what I mean? Because I looked Ethiopian. I was skinny. I had the belly, right? All I was missing was the flies and the oatmeal that they eat and stuff. But that's just my perspective because I went to boot camp and my drill instructor was like, where are you from? And I was like, Pennsylvania. He said, you from Ethiopia. And I was like, see, that's my point right there. You know what I mean? He said it. The drill instructor said it to me. He would tell people, drop down and give me 50. He looked at me and said, go down and eat a sandwich.
Don't come back up till you finished it.
Exactly. And that's the way it was. So you got to watch your crowd. Will that work in one crowd? It may. Another crowd might be ooh, ah. You know what I mean? So you got to know what jokes work for what crowd. So hopefully you got enough.
Yeah. You know how you said, I thank you for that input. That's valuable. Anybody else that's a comedian that didn't know that, I dare you to admit you didn't know it because you're going to learn things when you listen to Kevin. He's got like a ability to teach. I think you could teach a seminar while you're doing your material. That's how good you are.
I think sometimes it sounds like a seminar, you know what I mean? So.
And now for the TED Talk of the night. So when you were saying that you were wanted to be a gangster, gangbanger, whatever you call it, and your drama teacher segued you into drama, you know what came to my mind?
What's that?
What, did she have a thing of West Side Story going on?
She was heavy into the drama. I mean, she was like a real drama teacher. And the school that she sent me to was for like the upper students. And I was the first student of just regular to go to this school. And they didn't really want me there. The principal there really didn't want us. There was a couple of us that actually went because we were just cut-ups in class. We weren't drama students. And we went there and it was weird, but she totally believed. Her name is Ann Alsadek. She's still alive. She still hits me up on Facebook and she always tell me, I always thought you were going to do this. I always thought you were funny, you know, when you were in school and you wrote silly jokes back then. And I didn't know about writing jokes. I just told stories just like I do now. But it's such an interesting dynamic. You know what I mean? That's how I ended up. I never thinking I'd ever, because we always thought drama was for the soft guys, you know what I mean? So I had to make it funny so it would be acceptable. And we did. We made drama acceptable at a predominantly black high school. And I
Wow.
was the only black tennis player to ever play tennis at our high school.
Whoa.
Yes. I was the only one to ever play tennis. A lot of people don't know that about me. But my varsity letter is in tennis. I tried to change it to a football, right? But it's a tennis ball. Yeah, it's not a football. It's at
And
first glance.
now you just backhand people verbally.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it was a good experience though. So I'm a little bit, I'm a little different. I grew up in the inner city. I grew up in a rough area, but nobody really bothered me because I was always funny. I always was the dude that told the joke. So I didn't have to get in. Another thing that I thank my friends, they didn't push me into wanting to be a criminal and all that, sell drugs. They never did. They always thought, and I don't have that story where somebody said, you ain't gonna make it. I got stories where people told me I should make it. So, I didn't walk up with that chip on my shoulder. You know what I mean? I never had that chip because people always told me I should. I may have felt like I disappointed in myself, but I never had that, you're not going to make it. Nobody ever really told me that.
That's great. I have a question for you. Um, who's the best tennis player the world has ever seen and why?
To me,
Mhm.
let me see. Now, my favorite would obviously be Arthur Ashe
I was thinking
because he was my inspiration. Because not many blacks were playing tennis, and for him to do what he did and win the U.S. Open and the stuff he did was definitely my favorite. I like Pete Sampras, uh, Rod Laver. There's a couple that Bjorn Borg. There was some good ones, it was some good ones. But my favorite would be Arthur Ashe, my inspirational favorite. I wouldn't say he was the best in the world, but I would say for me he was the best because what he established for me, and that's where we started doing tennis in the inner city was because of Arthur Ashe.
wow. So Arthur Ashe is like my Sandy Koufax.
Okay. Yes, that's what he was. Yeah, he was. Well, he's the tennis. To me, he's the tennis Robinson. He's with baseball. Arthur Ashe was tennis to black people. He
Yeah,
was the guy that we finally recognized that they played tennis and was black and was good. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah. So of all the people that you've met in the comedy world, who I know there's a lot of people that have come along to be behind your comedy, a lot.
Right.
But who is somebody that's high up in the comedy food chain that shocked you coming up and being behind you that you didn't expect it or see it coming?
Let me think. Who have I worked with that gives me? Shane is a good friend. Shane gave me good compliments, which I really appreciated. Linnell gave me good compliments. Uh, Worked with Honest John, also good people. Speedy. I mean, these are people that you work with, and then when you get done, they come up and give you that compliment, like good set, man, or something like that. And they don't have to. You know
No.
what I mean? They don't, but they do, and it makes you feel good that what you putting the time in it works. You know what I mean? That it's working. So I definitely have appreciated. Trying to think who else. I met Cat, but I didn't do a set with Cat Williams.
You
Uh,
met him?
I
What's he
met him.
like?
He's pretty cool. He's cool. Big Wheezy, Wayne Big Wheezy introduced me to Cat, and we were up in it was a Cajun place. They were doing a fundraiser, and Cat was hosting. But Wayne, Big Wheezy writes for Cat, and he also performed with Cat, so that was a good connection. Alex Thomas, talked to him. Good people, man. I met some pretty cool people in the game. You know what I mean? Absolutely. And I used to produce shows back in San Diego before I got on stage. So T Rex, Rodney Perry, Lonnie Love, J Dub. Man, there's so many that are doing it right now that are so successful that came. Shane was my first headliner. Tommy Chung, uh, Thomas Ward, Spanky Hayes, Howie Bell, all my dudes, man. We was all tight. We're really good friends. So I got to watch those guys work. D. Militant, Bobby Law, who passed away. He was a Marine. Uncle Cleophas had a great character, and Bobby was the first one to force me on stage. Bobby
Wow.
Law, and I got a
How do you do,
text.
how do you do that?
We were
How
up
do
at.
you how do you force a retired Marine to go on stage?
He was a Marine. He was a Marine gunnery sergeant stationed at Miramar, and him and I were up at. We would go and scout comics for the show, and we were at the townhouse, and Michael Collier had an open mic. And he's like, Kev, man, go up and tell a joke, man. You always, on stage, introducing people, go tell a joke. So I go on stage and I tell the joke. It was a Red Fox joke. And Michael Collier, of course, he knows all the jokes because he does all the jokes. He said, that's a Red Fox joke. I said, I know that, man. I ain't never said it was mine. And that's what I remember from that experience. Then we went to DL Hughes' room in Santa Ana. So we would go to the comedy store and we would scout out comics, the book. And that's how we did it in the old days. There was no internet. There wasn't all that. So we had to drive and go and physically. JB Smooth, good people. Honest John, just so many of the guys that I worked with that I got to watch them do their thing. You know what I mean? Ari Spears, yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Remember, I did a show with the Unknown Comic and Marsha Warfield. So that was a good experience. Marsha Warfield definitely gave me heavy support. Yes, I worked with her in Utah and in Vegas.
Oh, wow. So how long are you going to be in Vegas?
Just tonight. I'm back tomorrow. Friday night, I'm in Corona. And then Saturday, I'm in Utah.
What time do you head out tomorrow?
I'm going to leave first thing in the morning so I can get back and get my stuff together for Friday. And then Saturday, Utah. So this is just quick turnaround, just 3 days of just being gone. And then I still got to deal with my son, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
That single
is that
parent.
Your son? Is that your son in the closet there? That arm hanging out?
No, that's just a jacket. He's still alive.
It's early.
Yeah, he's a good kid though. My son is a really good guy, man. He really
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you work for Armed Forces Network.
Yeah. Yes.
That must be a cool job.
Yeah, actually, that's what I'm doing while I'm talking to you. I'm actually looking at my work because I'm actually working, but I do most of the sports for Armed Forces Television. So we got UFC Fight 254 coming up. We got football coming up. So I do the promos for those so that they know the show's coming on, what channel is coming on, and what time.
That's amazing. So proud of you for doing something for the military.
Oh yeah, it's great to be able to be still associated with the military and to have something to do with the morale. Because when I meet people and I tell them what I do in the military, they're like, "Oh, bro, man, we appreciate you, man. We do." Because over in Korea or Afghanistan or some of these places that we get stationed, and all they got is AFN. So they are very happy for that. So I'm very happy to be able to give it to them.
And also, I know from prior conversations with you that you have a desire to go and do comedy abroad for the military on a tour.
Oh, absolutely. I can't stop doing comedy until I do that. So I will not walk away from this until I get overseas to Afghanistan, to Iraq, to Europe, and entertain the troops and just sit down and spend time with them and let them know that people still care for you, that we worry about you, that we're here for you. And that's why I'm here. So when I can do that, and if I decide at that point, then I can walk away from comedy. That's when I walk away. After that, then to me, I'm okay, because when I got into it, that was my major purpose, was to get overseas, because I remember what it was like when people came to our bases and we were 18 and 19 years old, away from home, and for that hour or 2 hours in that building with that person on stage and those people singing, what that did for us. So I want to share that. I want to give that back.
Well, I hope you never are able to accomplish it, because I don't want you to walk away from comedy.
Well, I'm not trying to walk away. I'll probably walk away to go away in a wheelchair the way my knees feel. I'll roll away, you know what I mean? And he rolled off into the sunset, the Marine of Comedy.
Well, I hope that some of the people that I've interviewed who are bookers for comedy tours to Afghanistan and the troops, like Johnny Cardinelli, I think Adam Hunter has it. Willie C. Clifton. There's a ton of them out there that are actually in decision-making roles, and they're
Yeah,
overlooking you. And it's about time they give you what you deserve.
I would appreciate that. So I'll get with you and get those names again because I know I had them, but then Corona came and it really threw everything for a loop. Vargas
Never.
Mason, Vargas Mason and I just did a show in Utah, and he does a lot of shows overseas. So I told him, he told me 3 years ago, he said, man, when you ready, that's what he told me, but that's just the way he is. And
Yeah.
with Vargas is interesting. When Vargas starts talking to you, then you probably okay. Most of the time when he first books you, he never even talks to you. You know what I mean? When I first started doing the Comedy Store, he very rarely said anything. Then one day he gave me a compliment about a set and he gave me some advice. And since then we've been cool. So
That's great. So tell me the truth. Is that military shirt you have on from the military? It looks like a GI issue shirt.
no, it's Ralph Lauren.
Oh, it is, and your hat is too.
It's
Uh,
Ralph Lauren polo.
you know what? I'll let you go, but I have this question slash joke. Don't you find that all the young kids that are wearing military khakis, don't you find it to be fatiguing?
Yeah, that's funny. I think
You can have you can have the joke if you want.
it's a fad, but for us, it's part of who we are. You know what I mean? And for me, I really enjoy it, man. I enjoy it because they made it stylish. So not only do you get the camouflage cover, but you put the orange horse on it, which is kind of cool. And then you get the nice fitted type shirt. So you can look the part. And I am the Marina Comedy as my brand. So I do try to definitely do that. Absolutely.
Yes,
I definitely try to do
absolutely. You've been a doll. I'll let you go back to work editing for Armed Forces Network.
that.
And
Yeah,
if you're a booker and you know anybody who books military tours, Kevin Davis is your man. He's the Marina Comedy. He'll do you right.
that's right.
Take
And you can reach me at the Marina Comedy, Facebook, the Marina Comedy, on Twitter, the Marina Comedy, Instagram. Everything is the Marina Comedy. And my website is themarinacomedy.com. Thank you, Linda, so much. I'll see you today. I'll be there shortly.
You can count on it. I'll be there at night at 8 o'clock to make sure I get in.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye
Love
bye.
you. Bye.